8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Soundhi Thavam. All public services will be decentralized to improve efficiency and production. The Minister of Agriculture reiterates that there will not be a rice shortage in future as the massive cultivation drive in Sri Lanka is actively in progress with large-scale cultivation. The Railway Department says the fuel crisis has not affected train operations. The US has granted financial assistance of $120 million for Sri Lanka's economic growth and development. The UNFPA, with the support from the government of China, has provided essential medical equipment and supplies to adequately equip the public health staff. Displaying of voters' register begins today. Litro resumes LP gas distribution after 11 days. 16-hour water cut in parts of Gampaha. In news overseas, hot coal walk leaves 25 injured in Switzerland. And in sports, Sri Lanka suffer Hasaranga blow as they look to fight back. The Minister of Agriculture, Mahinda Amaraveera, reiterated that there will not be a rice shortage in the future as the massive cultivation drive in Sri Lanka is actively in progress with large-scale cultivation. There will not be a shortage as enough stocks of rice is available till December this year. The FAO has come forward to provide 363,000 packets of urea fertilizer free to the farmers who engage in the cultivation in the Maha season. Meanwhile, the paddy cultivation of Yala season has already commenced in Mullaitivu, Vavuniya and the Kilinochchi districts. Displaying of electoral register related to this year's electoral roll revision process will commence from Wednesday, June 15th, the Elections Commission says. According to the election body, the list will be displayed until July 12th. Meanwhile, the list of names that will be removed and included in the electoral roll will be displayed from the 15th of this month to the 12th of July. The election body further stated that the submission of claims and protests will also be made during this period. If the general public has any issue or inquiry regarding the electoral roll revision, the Elections Commission wants them to contact the Grama Niladhari officer of their respective area and take necessary action or to visit the district elections office. However, the certification of electoral rolls is scheduled to take place on October 31st. The Railway Deputy General Manager Gamini Seniviratna says that fuel crisis has not affected train operations. He said that the Railway Department has sufficient quantity of fuel stocks. 2 more trains have been added to be operated on the Kalani Valley and main railway lines. The department also rejected the media reports carrying some wrong information in this regard. The water supply for parts of Gampaha will be interrupted today for 16 hours. The National Water Supply and Drainage Board, NWS and DB says. Accordingly, the water cut will be imposed at 2 p.m. and will continue until 6 a.m. tomorrow, June 16th. Gampaha Municipality, the area from Miriswata Junction to Alutkama, the areas adjacent to Bogamur Church Road on the Colombo-Kandy Main Road will be affected by this 16-hour water cut. The UNFPA, with the support from the government of China, has provided essential medical equipment and supplies to adequately equip public health staff who have been actively working at the grassroots level. A total of 328,660 packs of supplies worth $800,000 were handed over to the Family Health Bureau through the Ministry of Health today. The initiative aims to ensure frontline health workers in Sri Lanka have adequate means to safely respond to patients during public health emergencies. A special facility has been provided to the passengers who are affected due to the present fuel crisis. Accordingly, special bus and train services are arranged from the residential areas to the office areas. Special buses will start from Kadawatha, Katubedda and Makumbra Multi-Transport Centre at 6:30 a.m. Train services also will be in operation to help these passengers. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Litro Gas Lanka Limited, one of the primary suppliers of LP domestic gas in the country, has resumed its distribution process after 11 days. In a video statement issued yesterday, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said the priority in the distribution of the latest shipment of 3,500 metric tons of LP gas would be given to hospitals, hotels and crematoriums. Unloading of this LP gas shipment began yesterday at the Litro gas terminal in Muthurajavela after the payment of $2.5 million, which includes the demurrage charges, was settled on Monday. The LP gas tanker was anchored for over 6 days off Thaldiavatta coast in Keravalapitia as the balance payment was delayed. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe further stated that LP gas sufficient for 4 months can be obtained from the next shipments that are expected to arrive in the country. It will take 14 days for that. However, we expect to obtain at least one shipment before that, for which we are currently in talks. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority says it expects to attract around 800,000 tourists in 2022 with an estimated revenue of $800 million. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe engaged in discussions with stakeholders of the tourism sector today at the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister instructed officials to prepare a plan to attract tourists from India for the next 6 months. The Premier also requested relevant authorities to make arrangements for the resumption of operations of the Palali airport. The Minister of Education, Susil Premajayantha, says $65 million is required in order to import the quota of paper and printing material for next year. The minister, speaking to the media in Kandy, said Sri Lanka imports paper and doesn't manufacture paper locally. He noted that manufacturing took place previously at factories in Ambalipitia and Valachene. The Education Minister said the estimations have been handed over to the Treasury, the Ministry of Trade and the Indian High Commission in Sri Lanka. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has pointed out decentralizing state services, including working from home, is a timely need. He said that a more efficient service can be provided by decentralizing the services of departments of registration of persons, motor traffic and other state institutions. During a discussion at the President's house today, the President pointed out the importance of linking the main institutions. The discussion took place on agriculture, food security, introducing new methods to enhance efficiency of public services, and on decentralizing state services at district and regional levels. It was disclosed that 40% of the harvest is destroyed during distribution. It was pointed out that a large quantity of food can be protected by paying special attention in this regard. The President said a fair price can be given to the farmers and customers by minimizing middlemen involved in the distribution of the harvest. Attention was paid on the need for a renewable power generation drive to coincide with the cultivation drive. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The US has granted financial assistance of $120 million to Sri Lanka's economic growth and development. The grant has been given by the US International Development Financial Corporation. Meanwhile, the Foreign Relations Committee of the US Senate has requested the Quad member countries to do more to mitigate local, political and economic crisis. The organization consists of the US, Japan, India and Australia. It is said that priority should be given for humanitarian assistance. The US Senate Committee has also appreciated India giving humanitarian assistance to Sri Lanka, and that came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight, the UNFPA, with the support from the government of China, has provided essential medical equipment and supplies to adequately equip public health staff who have been actively working at the grassroots level. A total of 328,660 packs of supplies worth $800,000 were handed over to the Family Health Bureau through the Ministry of Health today. The initiative aims to ensure frontline health workers in Sri Lanka have adequate means to safely respond to patients during public health emergencies and came to you in Watchlight. On to a bulletin of world news making headlines tonight. Boy rescued after 100 hours trapped underground in a well. Hot coal walk leaves 25 injured in Switzerland. Hong Kong, new school books claim territory was not a British colony. Rescuers in central India have managed to save a 10-year-old boy who fell into a well and was trapped for 5 days. The operation was made more complicated as Rahul Sahu has hearing and speech impairments and had to be provided with oxygen. The rescue effort was well appreciated by many courtiers for the brave commitment shown by the relevant officials. 25 people have been treated for burns in northern Switzerland after they walked across hot coals as part of a team-building exercise. 13 of them were taken to hospital and treated for most severe injuries after the incident on Tuesday evening. A large emergency response, including 10 ambulances, arrived at the private event at around 1600 hours GMT. New textbooks for Hong Kong schools will state the territory was never a British colony, local media report. Instead, the books declare the British court only exercised colonial rule unquote in Hong Kong, a distinction drawn to highlight China's claims of unbroken sovereignty. China has always asserted it never gave up sovereignty, and its surrender of Hong Kong to the British was due to unfair Opium War treaties in the 1800s. The UK returned Hong Kong to China in 1997 after ruling for over 150 years. And back to the headlines of the world news. Boy rescued after 100 hours trapped underground in a well. Hot coal walk leaves 25 injured in Switzerland. Hong Kong new school books claim territory was not a British colony. That concludes this bulletin of world news, and on to development news. The Hambantota International Port, HIP, recently handled the largest RO shipment of 2022 to date, MV Globis Champion, carrying 8,147 vehicles and 18 high-end heavy vehicles collected at the port last week, and the port completed the operation within 28 hours. The high efficiency and productivity was achieved as a result of HIP's skilled workforce and the use of smart technology. And that came to you in development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Australia's injury woes have deepened on the tour of Sri Lanka, with Marcus Stoinis ruled out of the remainder of the ODI series with a side strain, while Ashton Agar's future on the trip remains doubtful with a similar problem. Travis Head and the uncapped left-arm spinner Matthew Kuman have been called up for the ongoing Australia A 4-day match against Sri Lanka A in Hambantota, ahead of the second ODI in Pallekele on Thursday. Australia claimed a 1-0 series lead thanks to some Glenn Maxwell magic, but Sri Lanka exposed some vulnerabilities and will believe they can level the series, although they will have to do it without the injured Balindu Hasaranka. That's sports news. Business news up next.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lankan Airlines brought home 2 prestigious titles from the Apex Passenger Choice Awards presented in Dublin on 8th June 2022. Sri Lankan was bestowed the 2022 Passenger Choice Awards for Best Cabin Service for the first time and the Best Wi-Fi for the second time in Central Southern Asia by the Airline Passenger Experience Association, Apex. That's business news, economic news up next.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
The import expenditure declined year-on-year for the second consecutive month, while earnings from exports increased in April 2022. This reduction in imports gathered pace in May 2022 as per the provincial data from Customs. As a result, the trade deficit recorded a notable year-on-year contraction. Workers' remittances rebounded in May 2022, supporting the stability of the external current account, recording at US $24.9 million during April 2022 $249 million during April 2022 in comparison to $318 million in the previous month and $500 million in the corresponding month in the previous year. And that came to you in economic news. And moving on to the weather report to conclude, the Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Fairly strong winds, about 40 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times in the northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hamathara districts. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the international weather forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that the day's weather was cloudy with occasional showers. Today's daytime temperature was observed to be around 29 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in the Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 27 degrees Celsius and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 27 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 21, which is fair air conditions in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. And to conclude this news broadcast, a recap of the headlines. All public services will be decentralized to improve efficiency and production. The Minister of Agriculture reiterates that there will not be a rice shortage in future as the massive cultivation drive in Sri Lanka is actively in progress with large-scale cultivation. The Railway Department says the fuel crisis has not affected train operations. The US has granted financial assistance of $120 million for Sri Lanka's economic growth and development. The UNFPA, with support from the government of China, has provided essential medical equipment and supplies to adequately equip the public health service. Displaying of voters' register begins today. Litro Gas resumes LP gas distribution after 11 days. 16-hour water cut in parts of Gampaha. Hot coal walk leaves 25 injured in Switzerland. And Sri Lanka suffer Hasaranga blow as they look to fight back. That concludes tonight's news broadcast.